Welcome back to the Serenity series, where we're transforming an outdated pond into a stunning backyard oasis. In our last episode, we laid out the structure, shaped the pond, and started rocking the edges. Now with a new day comes the need for planning, so everyone knows the direction.
You guys did a really nice job here. Looks great. That stonework under the step came out really nice. The light positioning looks good. I'd like to see that one point up a little bit, down in there. And maybe, well, you see how we're both coming this way right now? That one should probably be going across. So let's change the position on that light. Intake looks great. I'm gonna work on getting the Metalamat situated there. I got some brick edge for that. Looks like the pond is pretty much done, right?
Yeah.
How's our elevation on that step there, Colby?
You're like 2-3 inches above it.
All right, we gotta finish off that liner work there so they can do all their patio work when we're done. How's our beach? What's our elevation there?
A couple inches high, it's plenty.
We got enough, we're in water to be able to put plants in there?
Mm-hmm. In the front, yeah.
All right, and now we can just really focus on getting this wetland done and this waterfall.
Yes.
This is great. So we can do the fun stuff today.
Yay.
Build a waterfall. What I want to do is, this is all washed down already?
The gravel could use another rinse, but pretty much. And then the intake, but you have to cut that hole in there so we can drain the water down.
Okay. The rock work really came out nice. You guys did an awesome job here. I like how tight it is. The big boulders look great. I love the top edge there. That's awesome. Now over here, I want to get these couple frame. We might have to change that. Well, we'll see how it goes. I have these rocks here that I had picked out already for the waterfall, so we'll set those and see if we have to make an adjustment with that. We'll get the frames in, and then we're going to drop the whole liner in behind it, the one that's going to be for the wetland, so we can get our overlap in, and then we'll dig that thing. We're going to be building the wetland a bit different than we normally do. I was talking to Brian over at Aquascape, and he's been doing it where he fills up the blocks like 1/2 to 3/4 with bio balls. And by doing that, we can use a lot less gravel on top because the bio balls are the surface area now for the filter. And it does a really good job as far as being able to clean it. So you don't have 2 feet of gravel that we have to try and clean through. This is only going to be like 4 inches of gravel on top with just the bio balls. He's been having them in for a couple of years and they're working really well, crystal clear. So we're going to go that direction with this one.
Very cool.
With the plan in place, we got straight to work. We shaped the ground for the waterfall, laid the liner, and carefully selected the perfect rocks to create a stunning cascade. Meanwhile, the intake bay took shape, so let me show you what I was talking about in the last episode regarding the Metalamat.
All right, guys, we're down in the intake bay skimmer. Remember I told you in the beginning that we were going to have water being drawn in here, and it's going to be pulled down through Metalamat into our aqua blocks, which is going to feed our pump. Right now, if I turned this thing on, it was full of water, I wouldn't be able to draw water down anywhere because I completely blocked off the blocks from the actual pond surface. So what's going to happen is I'm going to use this black Metalamat. This is a filter mat, it comes in sheets. And I'm going to have it so that this is on top of our blocks. And this is where we're going to draw the water down through. So it's a big filter. So essentially any of that junk that gets in here, like those leaves and stuff that end up sinking in here, sink onto this mat, and this can be pulled out and serviced by washing it out and then putting it back in. What that's doing is making sure that none of that stuff gets down into our blocks and clogs things up, because over years it can actually build up in there, build like a sludge layer, and then it becomes problematic to try and clean them out. You're disassembling all these blocks to try and clean out your intake. We want to avoid that altogether. So that's why we're going to use this mat as a pre-filter. Now if I just put this here and cut our liner around it, it would work, but we're going to surround this with gravel. So that would mean you'd have to move every single piece of gravel out of the way to try and get this thing out and then get it back in the exact perfect position. And that's just not going to happen. So against the rocks on this side, I'm actually going to cut up against the rocks so it fits like perfectly like it's supposed to. But on the open edges, I'm going to use some brick edge. This is brick paver edging. It's just got a nice L shape to it. It's got these holes on this side, which usually have spikes through them that hold the edge of a paver patio. How we're going to use this is we're going to cut these pieces to fit on the front and the side and a little bit on the back here, so we can make a little frame for the mat to sit inside of. So when they go to pull it out, it goes right back in the frame. There's no guesswork. It's easy to get it out. And on this side of it, we can have our gravel. So basically it's going to hold back our gravel and it's going to make a nice nestled in frame for our mat. I'm going to put these on top of the blocks, and then in these holes in spacing, we're going to do some zip ties. We're going to zip tie it down to the blocks. And then what I can do is I can cut out that whole piece of liner that's on the inside of the frame. That's where this is going to sit. So then we've got that area where the water can be drawn in, pulled down through our mat, and then feed the rest of the pond. And when they got to take it out, super simple to get it out. When this is all said and done, this black mat just kind of blends right into everything, and it just makes it very easy to take care of an intake-based skimmer.
Wasn't anything cool.
And with that, we've got a nice snug fit with our Metalamat. Outside edge, that's that brick edge we use to actually contain the mat. It's zip tied down to the blocks in about like 8 or 10 spots. Now we can bring our gravel right up against the back of that. It's gonna be a nice and clean installation, but you can still easily get that filter mat out for servicing. This is a BioBall. It's a small plastic round looking thing which has a bunch of ribs on it. This is a place for beneficial bacteria to colonize. There's all kinds of square inches packed into the shape of the way this ball is manufactured. Behind me, I've got all our aqua blocks. Those are large aqua blocks. We're putting in 10 of them for our constructed wetland filter. We filled every one of those with these BioBalls about 3/4 of the way up. Now the idea here is the water flows up through there. When there's water in there, these actually float. These will be floating towards the top of that, and as the water's passing through, they'll probably be moving around before it passes up through the top of the block. And now on top of that, we're gonna do about 3 inches of a river stone, like a 1-inch river stone, just big enough so that it doesn't fall through the aqua block, but enough so that it has some gravel to pass through at the top. Now, Brian Helfers over at Aquascape has been doing this method for over 1.5 or 2 years, and he said it's working fantastic. So I really like this idea because it makes cleaning that much easier. You're not trying to go through 2 feet of gravel. You're just going through this much gravel when you're flushing it out. And then these balls in there, they actually come pretty clean. When we have these in BioFalls filters, when we clean them out, they clean off pretty easy. So it's gonna make maintenance 100 times easier. The longevity of this filter is probably gonna be multiplied by at least 2 or 3 times. So I'm super excited to try this out, and I'll show you the results as the years go on. We'll come back to this pond and we'll actually see what the water looks like. But Anthony went ahead and filled all those up. They're ready to go. We're about to start excavation for our constructed wetland filter, get those guys in, build our filter, and get this thing finished.
As day 6 drew to a close, the last stones were placed, the final touches added, and the pond was ready to come to life.
It's been about 2 months since we finished this project, and I'm super excited to show you guys what this looks like.
Lights
This is our 14 by 14 Serenity Deluxe Pond, and it's got a ton of upgrades. We built a 6 by 8 constructed wetland filter at the top of the waterfall, which is filtering this pond and keeping it so crystal clear. We've got about 2 feet of elevation from that wetland filter down to where the pond starts. So those cascading waterfalls have plenty of room to come down there, do some bouncing around on those beautiful boulders before they make it back down into the pond. This pond is 30 inches deep. We've got some really nice aquatic planting in here. Not only the lilies that are inside here, but also all that marginal planting that's on the shoreline. You can see things are starting to fill in really nicely after only 2 months of growth. The way this flagstone patio comes up to the edge and gives you a really cool interface at the edge of the pond, I absolutely love when we get the opportunity to do that. Over on the far end of the pond, we've got our custom intake-based skimmer. Favorite part about this type of skimmer is it just looks like an extension of the pond. The fish can swim in and out of the skimmer with no problem. If you live in the northern New Jersey area and you might be interested in our Serenity Deluxe Pond, simply click on this link right here. It's going to take you to our project planner where you can build out your own pond and see what it might cost to have something like this installed. Thanks so much for joining us on this amazing 14 by 14 pond build. Let me know in the comments what you think about this and what would you do differently. We'll see you on the next one.